Hi, today we're going to talk about how superhero movies in the 2000s affected society. Superhero movies not only provide entertainment, but reflect what is going on or happening in the modern world. They give people signs of hope and reassurance. This is a quote from the Superman movie. "It's not an S on my world, it means hope." The Superman logo literally means hope. After the tragedy of 9/11, movie theaters experienced an all-time high in moviegoers at 1.6 billion. The previous high before the year 2001 was 1.4 billion moviegoers. This shows that when superheroes are doing good, it allows for people to see that there is hope when times are at an all-time low. Superhero movies at the least let you know that there is someone there for you besides the good. When all else fails, there will be that sense of hope and reassurance that someone will always be there for you. This is why after times of tragedy, superhero movies are so crucial for reassuring hope. This clip gives us hope that superheroes are always there to protect our country.
So we've talked about how superheroes provide hope and reassurance to its citizens. Now we're going to talk about how safety is valued by them. Since 2001, safety has definitely increased in America, such as increased airport security, because TSA officials now have to screen luggage, use biosensors, and sniff the air with radiological detectors to watch over airports. Another way safety has been increased is architects are now designing safe and sturdy buildings to prevent another attack on that scale. Here's a quote from Captain America that defines who superheroes are. "The strength of this country isn't in buildings of brick and steel. It's in the hearts of those who have sworn to fight for its freedom." So he is saying that superheroes will protect the country and its citizens at all costs, which is why people gravitate towards superhero movies after times of tragedy, because they ensure our safety and fight for our protection. Another reason why citizens gravitate towards superhero movies after times of tragedy is because of the credibility gap that is formed between the people and the government. And the only way that the government can ensure that they know exactly what's going on is by a quote from Captain America: "This isn't freedom. We're holding a gun to every citizen's head and calling it security."
Now we're going to talk about how society reacts to the different roles of superheroes. Why? Because people remember the superhero that gives back to a city. The roles of superheroes are arguably the most important aspect of the movie. All good superhero movies have a superhero who is constantly looked up to by the city and is always doing things for others before themselves.
That's detonation. It's out over the bay. It's clear of the city.
This quote by Jane Andrews states, "Superhero films allow us to talk, very obliquely, about American power and the morality of using extreme methods to deal with challenging, slippery foes." This shows that the different roles that superheroes play allow society to see that there is a different world and escape reality. It's a break from the struggles in the real world and allow us to see the good. Now, since superhero movies are becoming so dramatically more popular, people are obviously responding to them well. If people did not like seeing this alternate world in superhero movies, they would stop coming to them. People love the feeling that they get when they're watching a superhero movie and they see that the city's in trouble, but then the superhero comes and saves the day. That's what superheroes are for, hope and reassurance. Next, people need superheroes whether we know it or not. A psychoanalyst named Carl Jung did a study on how newborn babies are constantly dependent on a caregiver when they are born. As that child grows up, they obviously become less and less dependent on that constant caregiver, but then they develop archetypes. One archetype that they develop is the attraction to become closer and closer to moral people. Superheroes, or people that are there for you when you need them the most, fall into this category. Whether we know it or not, everyone in this world becomes somewhat dependent on someone at some point in their life. This next quote is, "How about dangerous? What would you call a group of US-based enhanced individuals who routinely ignore sovereign borders and inflict their will wherever they choose and who frankly seem unconcerned about what they leave behind them?" This quote from the Avengers movie talks about a scene where the Avengers go completely rogue and ignore all aspects of the government. The people and the government obviously do not respond well to such a dangerously capable group disappearing. Sometimes superheroes have to do things that are difficult for them, but in the end always do what's best for the city. The government turned them into a public enemy, but in the end they came back and saved the day. Even when people don't approve of superheroes, they will always do what's right for their city.
So after 9/11, everybody was shaken up, so they needed a savior and a distraction, which is why everybody crowded the theaters shortly after 9/11. Superhero movies hit an all-time high of moviegoers shortly after 9/11 at 1.6 billion moviegoers. Superhero movies are also very good at reducing panic widespread due to the fact that there are millions of viewers across the country. Now I'm going to read a quote on how superheroes respond to tragedy. Tragedy gave every superhero their mission, but there's an equal chance they could have gone the other direction, leading us to every superhero's worst nightmare, a supervillain. Although evil bad guys bent on world domination used to suffice, modern audiences demand something more. They'll only accept a villain who had reasons for what they're doing. They don't have to be good reasons, but if a writer or director can make a villain's actions the result of something horrible happening to them, audiences are more likely to suspend disbelief than roll their eyes. Sure, supervillains do things that we never would, but the best baddies, the ones that keep us up at night, are those who ended up the way they were by succumbing to pressures that we're not sure we could resist.
Now we're going to talk about what role the government played in superhero movies. Before the movies were released, the government was seen as the most trustworthy and powerful place that exists. It looked to be able to protect the citizens from any potential threat that came about. The government had all the power, and because of that, people highly respected it. After the movies were released, a credibility gap formed between itself and the people. The superheroes made the government look weak because the government was unaware of potential dangers that they were not able to prevent. A former CIA agent by the name of Edward Snowden made the statement, "The increase in global surveillance was a direct effect of 9/11. Many analysts today believe 9/11 could have been avoided if surveillance programs had known about this earlier." This statement came out as a result of 9/11, of course, but also when superhero movies made the government look weak. Overall, the superhero movies had a direct result on how the government was viewed before and after the movies were released.
Our next segment is going to talk about how cities are vulnerable to these attacks. After the tragedy of 9/11, most Americans were scared for their life as they didn't know what was going to happen next. That's when superhero movies came in. They allowed Americans to have a sense of protection, but unfortunately, big cities like Chicago still had this fear. This is from an article from the LA Times. The nation clearly hungered for a figure who could save the country, or in this case, at least defend New York. Time for a mystery document? Let's check it out. Let's see. Here we go. The state of the world, post-Katrina, post-Iraq War, post-9/11, called for the re-emergence of the unbeatable alien from Krypton to defend Metropolis. The fictional stand-in for New York. His return to the big screen fulfilled American sentiment for a messiah. Must be from either Superman or Batman. I'm gonna say Batman.
No, it's Superman.
Oh boy, here we go. Unfortunately, since Metropolis in New York is always a target for villains, Americans are still usually scared for their life. As the entire country worried over their present safety, big cities like New York feared for the worst. This is the main reason why big cities like New York, Chicago, or LA are chosen for these locations because they strike fear into the Americans. To wrap it all up, superhero movies and superheroes in general give us the hope and reassurance when hope and reassurance is at an all-time low. Superheroes stand for something more than just fighting crime and locking up the bad guys. They continually put others before themselves to do what is best for the city.
I have to try.
In the end, superhero movies reflect what is going on or has happened in the modern world by giving people hope and reassurance through tragedies such as 9/11.